Good evening. Welcome to the studio tonight. This may prove interesting because airbrushing. Okay, I haven't picked up an airbrush in over 2 years. Well, not literally. I mean, I've picked it up. It's, you know, I can pick it up. I've picked up an airbrush, but I mean, actually used it for painting. Until about 20 minutes ago, the airbrush hadn't had air through it for the past 2 years. And so, it's been a little bit of a rush. And I have got sound going. It's been a little bit of a rush to get ready. Today didn't turn out quite as I intended it to. I ended up spending the afternoon not at home, so I couldn't actually get anything ready. So this is kind of I'm going to get things ready as I'm working, as I'm starting, so to speak. So cleaning pot, that can go there. Some mix, that's what I'm missing. Some mixing. I'm not missing mixing cups, I've got those. What I am missing is something like cocktail sticks. Now I happen to know I have some over here. Okay, I happen to know I thought I had some over here. There we are. Now, cocktail sticks are great for mixing paint with because they're disposable. So let me just prise this, whatever it is, so that I can get in there. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, if you want to go in, go in. So, cocktail sticks. Right, they're great for mixing paint. This is monochrome. So I've got monochrome colours. I've got some white and black E-tack paint. Now then, the other problem with this is it's been sat for 2 years. So certainly I'm not sure what this is going to be like. I like E-tack paint. I used to like E-tack paint, but I still like it. It's another matter, I guess. So what I'm going to do now is give this a good shaking, because I'm sure the pigment has settled out, and that's one of the problems with white paint. The pigment load in white paint, as in actually what pigment is in there, there's so much in, it's quite a thick paint. And it can be quite awkward to use, especially with airbrushes, because you get it drying on the tip. But we shall see. Other thing is, because I haven't done this in 2 years, I can't actually remember what I normally mix this at, which also doesn't help. So this could be quite fun. Now then, I normally use the paint. I don't normally with white, certainly I don't use it neat. Black maybe, carbon black, titanium white, and E-tack paint. I used to love E-tack paint. I don't know what the latest paints are like, but I've got a bit of this stuff hanging around. And in fact, I've not only got E-tack, I've got private stock as well, which is a similar sort of thing. Same supplier actually. I won't say it's the same paint because I don't actually know. But it is from the same thing. Colour Cows is the E-tack. I don't know what E-tack, if E-tack stands for anything. Edwards FX is what I tend to use. One of the reasons why it smells nice. Some airbrush paints have not a very nice smell at all, and I don't use solvent paints. I was about to say that's a bit of a silly thing, because I'm going to use solvent with this. The solvent with this is water, or I tend to use Autowear 4011 reducer. So this has a solvent, but what I mean is it's not an organic solvent, I guess. So I'm not using like enamel paints and things like that, enamel thinners. I don't particularly want the smell in the house, so I'm using I use water-based paints. So what I'm going to do tonight, I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to play with an idea, and I'm going to see what happens. I don't know if it's going to work or not at all, but we'll have a go and see what happens. And I've got some couple of reference pictures off screen, but I'm going to look at those. So I'll give this a good shake, because if I don't, then the pigments it just won't work very well. I can do one of two things with this. I can mix it in the cup, or I can mix it in the airbrush. And I may just mix this in the cup to start with. I'm just wondering if I've got a bit of paper around. I shall get myself a bit of paper. So I may disappear off camera. Well, sort of. Hello. I'm just my printer's in there, so one of my printers is in there, so I've got some paper which I can then use to spray against if I want to do so, and usually you do. So only half prepared. I keep remembering these things as I'm doing it, you see, because these are all the sorts of things I used to know exactly what I was doing, and I'd have all these stuff ready to one side. But of course, because I kind of decided a few days ago now, that I was going to do some airbrushing. What I didn't do, of course, which I ought to have done, is start setting up there. Well, no, not start getting stuff out then. So tonight was a bit of a scramble to dig the paints out, because at the bottom of a stack of boxes, which reminds me, I must fix a drawer so that they can go in a drawer, and then I can get them a bit easier. Finding my cleaning pot. I found the filter, the filter that sits on top. I found that without any problems. What I didn't find was the cleaning pot, which is a little bit odd. That took a while to find. So that's an easy way of cleaning out airbrushes. And I knew where my airbrush stand was. It's off screen, but just to the side here is a stand that I've got the airbrushes on. I found all my airbrushes, not all of them. It's about to say, yeah, I know where all of them are. I haven't got all of them out. I've got 3 of them out. So I've got an Iwata Eclipse airbrush. It's my first ever airbrush. My first ever proper airbrush. 40 odd years ago I had a really plastic, not very good, not very nice airbrush, single action airbrush, which didn't really work very well, but that's a proper airbrush, and it's a nice airbrush, is the Eclipse. What I also have is an Infinity. Now this is a really nice airbrush, is this, really well detailed, and I kind of love using that one, and I probably will end up using that one more than anything else, especially on this one, this build. This paint. And I have another Iwata. This is a trigger. I wonder what's happened. I normally have this is a TR, HP TR. It's another Iwata airbrush with the trigger. I quite like the triggers actually. They're a bit easier to sort of use for me after a period of time, because I'm actually not used to. It's a bit awkward using the top control. This is still a dual action airbrush though, even with the trigger. A lot of trigger type airbrushes are single action. This is dual. It has a side feed on it, so in this particular case I've got the side cup out. I tend to use this if I want to do big areas though as well. I need to have a play about with it. I did start using this for doing smaller details, because I just find I've got a little bit better control. The Infinity is lovely though for fine details, but I can use this like a spray gun as well, so I can do large areas. But then I normally use a side feed bottle if I'm doing large areas, rather than using the cup. But we shall see. I'm not sure I'm going to need it, but I don't think I'm going to need it. I've just got it out in case I want to talk about it, which of course is what I've just been doing. So ETAC paint, Autowear 401 reducer. This one wants this is a new bottle. This is a new bottle because my old bottle, which is around somewhere, has nothing in it anymore. It evaporates. It's not exactly. It does contain a solvent, small amount, a very small amount, and of course it evaporates over time. Actually, what I want to do is fill my dropper bottle with this, so I don't tend to. Yep, that's still got stuff in it. I don't use it direct from here. It's just a little bit too awkward. I use it out of this other dropper bottle, which lets me get smaller drops. So I'm just going to top that up. Oops, there's it. Spilt a bit, but that's okay. Put the top back on there. Doesn't smell too bad. It does contain a little bit of solvent, of alcohol of some kind. I don't know what it is. But that's part of how it works. Now then, the other thing I'm looking for is this. I'm just wondering, this might be a better thing to go do somewhere else. Because I've got some deionized water here to use. And I tend not to mix paints with tap water because of the minerals in the tap water. If there's any impurities of any kind, then what I don't want it to do is to sort of clog up the airbrush. Now I'm just going to take a small bottle, this one, and top it up with water. I shall be back in a moment. Again, I'm going to disappear off camera, but I'm going to disappear to somewhere where I can pour this without worrying about spilling it all over the place. Now I was half expecting to come back and say, because I was holding it over a sink, I didn't spill anything. And that was almost true until right at the end. And then I did spill some. So I'm kind of glad I did it over the sink. So that's some of the yeah, okay. So I've got water here. I've got 411 reducer. I've got my airbrushes, which are connected up to my main air line. That's leaking. What am I running at there? I'm only about 28 pounds. I seem to remember that's about what I used to on 28 psi. So I'm going to take them. This airbrush has an exposed needle. You won't see it because it's tiny. I think it's 0.2, and it has a needle cap on it. I have jabbed myself with that more than enough times. So, but take the needle cap off. There we go. So I shall mix a little bit of white paint. And we'll see what happens. Now then, one thing I'm just going to do is scrape the loose or the dried white paint off the top of this bottle. The reason I do that is when I open it and crack it, the dried paint, if I don't take it off, will have a tendency to drop inside the bottle, which means it'll go into the paint. It'll stay dried paint though in there and be like solid matter, and what that means then is that might clog up the airbrush. Don't want that to happen. So I don't know, I'm going to put some in. I work in drops. I hate wasting paint. You going to come out at all? Alright, is this... No, you're not going to come out, eh? Okay, let's see why that might be the case. Because it's dried in, is it? Yeah, it looks a bit like that. It's a bit thick. You know, at this point I should have a towel. So I shall go get some of that. I told you I wasn't prepared. Right. Well, that's not exactly what I was after, but it will do the job. At least for the moment. So, you're going to come out paint, or is this is hopefully this isn't too thick. I'm hoping that's just not just on the. I am hoping that's just the top, and not everything inside. What's that look like? That looks extremely thick. Okay, let me try a little bit of this. Didn't mean to do that. So what I've got here is ETAC reducer. This may be a complete bust at this point. We shall see. I may have to get my other bottle of ETAC paint out. I may be throwing a lot of this stuff away then. So I've just dropped some reducer. It's thinner actually, I guess you describe it as, into this bottle. And now I've got another bottle of this titanium white, so if this one really is thickened, then I can always get out another one. But it looks like I'm going to hold that over there, because if I squeeze this too much, I know what's going to happen. It's going to go squirt all over the place. What are we looking like? It's probably thick in the... Let's get one of these out, see what's going to happen. I have no idea. 23 degrees, quite warm in here. That's not actually too bad. It's a little bit thick is that, but it's not too bad. Yeah. There's a lot of this still, yeah, still quite a bit of solid matter there. What's that like? That's okay, so yeah, most of this is going to be a problem with the and now I've got paint all over myself, haven't I? Don't know where that's come from. I have paint all over myself for no apparent reason. I do not know where that came from. Right, I'm not doing very well. You know what, I thought this was going to work okay. Unfortunately, it's not working as okay as I was hoping it was going to. Right, are you still pretending to be really thick paint? You are, aren't you? Let's cheat a little bit. Do that. Do that. Do that. Do that. I'm just trying to get the paint back out the that's in the nozzle back out. and that way then it should hopefully mix a little bit better and get rid of the thick paint in the nozzle. I kind of worry about the black as well, because that's probably going to be the same, and I don't have another black. Oh, that's where that will come from, of course, yes. I do not really want to open another one. I don't particularly want to use the private stock either. This is thick at the moment. This is too thick to spray. That's for sure. But I mean, that in itself isn't a problem. I mean, I intended to add thinners to this to thin it down. So the fact that it is too thick to spray isn't really an issue as such at the moment. What I'll do is clear the nozzle out, and then once the nozzle is clear, then we maybe should get liquid paint out as opposed to sort of fairly thick paint. Right, there's an air path through there now. So let's see what happens when I put liquid into that path. Come on. I'm going to end up having to do it. Try the private stock, I think. Yeah, this is liquid. It just won't come through the nozzle. Why do I always pick awkward things to use? Right out on the stream. I guess I should have tried this beforehand, so if you are watching, my apologies. You can see what happens when you haven't used paint for a long time. It's thick, it goes thick. Now if I was brush painting, this probably wouldn't really be too much of an issue. You know what, forget that for now. That's messing about too much now. Okay, let's have a see what this private stock is like. This hasn't been opened, I don't think, so in fact let me... well, the cap's off of it, but... Now my experience, well, I was about to say my experience of using private stock isn't as much as it is of using ETAC, but my experience is 2 years old anyway. Let's see if this is going to come out. Oh, is all the pigment dried into the bottom of here? That looks a bit watery to me. That suggests that the pigment is sat in the bottom somewhere. So that's going to be something to do after this stream, is to make sure these bottles have a good stir, I think. So let's add a little bit of the reducer to this and thin it down a bit more before that. Maybe we'll do. I forgot to break the tip off, right? And I generally put a bit of 401, which is not that one, it's that one. Just put a couple of drops of 401 in there too. I find the slight alcohol content or the slight solvent content that's in there helps with the airbrush, stops tip dry. Or it doesn't necessarily stop it, but reduces tip dry. So let's see what that's going to be like. Drop that into the airbrush. Come on. Really, you see where the fun begins. Not done this for a long time. And I'm about to do it now. And I'm getting nothing out. Or rather, I am getting something out because the paint's going. It's getting wet, is that? So I'm getting something out, but yeah, there's no paint in it. That's what I was worried about. So let's just get rid of that. There we go. I've just got the solvent, and that's all. I was kind of concerned that might be the case. What I ought to do, I guess, at this point is probably buy a few ball bearings and drop them into these bottles. Actually, you know what? I could probably use this neat as it stands at the moment, just because there isn't as much. There's basically no paint on that at all. That's just like milky water. There's the solvent. Sorry, the pigment is going to be all at the bottom. Is that? No, that's not long enough. I've got a screwdriver, if that is long enough. That's not long enough either. Okay. So actually I've got nothing that I can do this with. How far are we into this stream so far? It's what, 5 to 8, and I've not even put any paint on the canvas. That is not good. Let's have a put a drop of paint in, and we'll see whether I get anything out. I don't particularly care for those snap tops, so yeah. I think this stream is a bust. I'm not going to get anything done because without any paint flow, there's nothing going to be happening. So I think what I'll do is, rather than just stand here talking to myself on stream, what I'm going to do is stop the stream for tonight. There's not much point in really, I don't think, in just being here whilst. Or having any of you watch me whilst I just sit here or stand here shaking paint. But I mean, if you prefer me to stay on stream, then just let me know, because I can do that. But unfortunately, until I get some paint flow, then nothing's going to happen. I mean, this is a new bottle, and the pigment has settled out, and it's going to take a lot of shaking. Same as with the, I suppose I should shake all three, because I'm going to have the problem with the black as well. So if there you go. Oh. Two-handed shaking. You can make all sorts of jokes doing this, by the way. I'm not going to, but you can. Make them up for yourself. But it's going to be ages. I know the last time I did this, it took about 15 minutes of shaking a bottle before I started to break up the pigment. And unfortunately, I don't have anything which is long enough to stir it. All I'm getting out of this at the moment is sort of like milky solvent, and that's no good. There's next to no pigment in it. There's enough to make this look. It's like putting a drop of milk in water. It looks white, but it's not milk. Zin 18. Oh, hello, welcome. Yeah, okay. Well, I don't mind. I mean, I'll carry on talking, but it's unfortunately it's. I was what I was hoping to do today was this afternoon was to set up, because setting up is I'm not had to get everything out of store, so to speak, and then find the easel and things like that, and then dig out the paint. And unfortunately, this afternoon turned out to be an afternoon of doing other things that needed to be done. And I only sort of got round to doing this from about 6:30, so just before the stream was due to start, I managed to get everything together and dug out the paint. And I was kind of hoping it wasn't going to be a problem, but that hope has not proved founded, unfortunately, because as I say, this paint has been stood vertically for about, it's getting better, for about a year, at least a year, maybe 2 years since I actually used it properly, and it's all the pigment settles out into the bottom, and what's left on top is just what they call the carrier liquid, or in some paints it's solvent. You see it sometimes in paint cans. If you ever do any painting with big paint cans, you sometimes have to, with liquid paints, you have to give them a stir, because the linseed oil that they use for the carrier is floated to the top. And this is kind of the same. And white is one of the ones with the most pigment in it, and that means it settles out a lot easier as well. So, how's that looking? What I'm just doing is I'm dipping a cocktail stick in, and that's when I pull that out, the amount of paint that's stuck to it gives me a better idea. It's getting better, but it's still not. It's still mainly just solvent, is that? I will say, Zin 18, it may well end up being another hour before we get any paint to flow. It's getting. You've got to get the paint broken up. I mean, once I get the paint into the solvent, it will then very quickly mix in. But it's getting it sort of started getting in there to start with. That's why I was kind of looking around to see if I've got something like a long screwdriver, which I don't, which I could have used to sort of agitate the paint a little bit, but it's I can't find any. Let me put a drop of this into the airbrush and we'll just see what it looks like. 1, 2 drops. Yeah, I do not like snap tops because this you get this little tiny spurt of paint comes out, and of course then that goes places like on the floor and on the carpet and stuff like that, and it doesn't look very nice. No, still mainly solvent. There's a bit of paint in it, but there's not enough to paint with. What if I tried this now? I'd just end up soaking the paper, and it just wouldn't do anything. Is the E-tack got any better? See what I can try doing with this. Won't use that one. I'll use this one. This one was flowing, it just wasn't coming out. So let me see if I can cheat a little bit. You're going to flow enough to, well, yes. I didn't quite mean like that. That is actually really thick paint. But one thing I can do with that now, I can mix it in the cup. Yeah, that's really settled out. Oh dear. Now you up. I can't really show this, but it is really quite thick. Is that? Looks like probably some of the carrier liquid in certainly the E-tack there has evaporated off. Well, I hope I can resurrect some of this paint because I've got rather a lot of, well, not relatively speaking, I don't have much compared to a lot of other people, but I've got a fair number of bottles of paint, and if they're all useless, then that's a lot of paint that's going to go to waste. What's that looking at? Now we're getting... Okay. A little bit more reducing. I might be able to paint with this actually. Yeah, it looks like it might work. Okay, well we may be in luck. This isn't the easiest or the quickest or the necessarily the best way of doing this, but we'll see if it works. Worst case is I waste a bit of paper. And you know, if this doesn't work with the paint, I'm going to lose the paint anyway, so I don't care about that so much, which is really unusual for me because I hate wasting materials. But see. We'll see, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm getting philosophical now this evening. So I've just put a little bit of a different thinner in. So the first lot of thinner was the normal carrier liquid that is used for E-tack paint. The second one was a slightly different reducer for a different series of paint, but what it does is it contains a little bit of solvent, a little bit of organic solvent, just a tiny amount, but it's enough to help with a situation called tip dry on airbrushes, which is where the paint actually dries on the needle. I've not used all that's in that cup, but let's have a look and see if we get anything out. Yeah, we're getting a bit. Let's have a go then. So, I I've been playing about with ideas about what to do for this. I've got some reference pictures over there, some things that I want to try and take a look at. So let's see what we can do here. Yeah. No, I'm not getting any paint. Ah, there we go. A little. Oh, that's going to be a problem. Yeah, this isn't flowing. Oh, shocker. Oh well, we'll fix that later, but are you too thick? There we go, it's starting to flow now. Are you starting to flow now? You are, but you're spurting. That's not what I'm after. That's not really what I'm after. Come on. That's better. Now I'm actually getting too much white on here. I was hoping to sort of just draw with it, but and use just a little tiny bit of yeah, you can see it. I want it to get this really pale, and then I could draw with it, and then sort of sort things out after, you know, use. Okay, what I'm trying to say is, when I do this normally, when I do it freehand, what I like to do is draw with the airbrush, and if the paint's flowing really well, I can do a really faint line, which I can see, and is easier to paint over again afterwards. And unfortunately, this is coming out a little bit too thicker for what I'm after. To do that, so I'm just going to see how it goes. I'm just wondering, actually, the other possibility here is for me to turn the airbrush up a little bit. Yeah, this paint is actually coming out too thick. I thought I'd thinned it down enough, but I haven't, and it's there we go. So I'm kind of just playing about with sort of like a nighttime scene. Maybe something like an airport, something like that. I thought I'd have a play about with, but it's going to prove, if the paint's not flowing, it's going to prove a bit of a challenge.
I don't know that.
I do. That's one of these home assistants that's busy talking to me and telling me something. So, and what I've got there is roughly an engine casing. What we've probably got is probably, yeah, something like an apron light or something like that. We've got yeah, probably a terminal building, I think, over there in the distance. So this isn't as faint as I'd normally work with at this stage. I'd work quite faintly and then tighten it up, and also sort of put use black as well to tighten it up. So I'll be alternating basically between black and white, and seeing how that goes. But when the white paint doesn't flow, it's that proves it's going to prove interesting. Yeah, I'm also getting paint splatter. That doesn't help. And little tiny white dots of paint, which is dry. As the paint's coming out of the airbrush, it's drying on the tip, and the splatter, the little drops, is either from dry stuff or like a drip, which just splatters out. And that's not ideal, to say the least. It's not ideal. We're gonna have the other wing out there somewhere. Yeah, that's probably about it. Wheels. We're gonna have wheels. Got the engine casing. So I've got what is it? Would effectively be steps here, I think, up to the aircraft. Let me see if I can thin this paint down a little bit. Let me put some more reducer into it, because then I can put some of this into the airbrush, and I can mix in the airbrush. Do that by bubbling air through it. So not as easy on this particular airbrush to do that as it is on the other airbrushes I've got, but we'll have a go. And if I can't get this paint to flow, then it's going to be a real pain. It's bad enough doing in monochrome when when the paint's flowing well. So what I'm doing now is forcing the air to blow back into the paint cup. Now I've got to be careful when I do this that I don't actually get it overflowing. So okay, well, let's just make a best of a bad job. Okay, so whether I file this tonight under the big round file, we'll see. But this is horrible. But at least I'm putting paint onto there. Yeah, and I'm putting paint everywhere I don't want it to go. This is ugh. Right. So this is a bit of black paper on which I am just spraying paint to get it to work. Yeah. This is not fun. So I think I can discount this as anything like going to be a reasonable sort of picture at all, because it's not. Oh dear. I'm doing here is just spraying paint on the sight tapes, just to try and get something coming out that I am sort of half happy with, but I'm not. My paint is much too thick. Yeah, just splatter and yeah. Nah. There's a possibility we might be able to do something with this, but I'm really not. I'm really not happy with it at all. That looks like a kid's taking a big wax crane and just scrawled all over everything. I mean, this is a beautiful airbrush in that I'm getting beautiful airbrush in that I can get really, I can write with this airbrush when it's flowing, and it's not flowing. It's starting to, but it's not. Come on. What I'll try and do in a minute is tidy a lot of this up with black. Yeah, I'm getting. It's starting to perform. Well, what I'm using here, if you're not familiar with airbrushing, is something called a double action airbrush. And what it means is you've got the lever that I'm using on the top of the airbrush controls two things. It controls the amount of air, and it also controls the amount of paint. So I push the lever down to get air, and then I pull the lever back to get paint. And generally speaking, what you do is you push it down, push the air down as much as you can, so you get all the air flowing. And then once you get air flowing, you then add the paint into it and control it by pulling the lever forward and back. What was that? Oh, just something behind the board here. Yeah, generally they're a better airbrush than single action airbrushes. What happens is the air's on all the time, and well, no, it's not always. Some are, some aren't. I was going to say with a single action airbrush, when you push the lever down, you get air and paint together. You've got a lot less control then with it, and it's a lot harder to control. You get things like blobs, like what I've been getting on here because I'm out of practice. Plus the airbrush is splattering. The paint that's in there now is starting to flow as I would like it to flow, and I'm going to have to go over this. It's because of the way it's come out. I'd normally do a lot tighter lines than I've done here, and I would be using a lot less paint. But what I'm going to have to do is just go over this again with switch to black, and then do a lot of the tidying up that I would not have had to do using black paint. So I've got a couple of pictures over there of aircraft, which gives me just a general idea of what it might look like. I'm not sure it's an idea that's working, but at least it's an idea. I couldn't think initially of what to do tonight. Come on. And this is something I've sort of played about with because I like painting in monochrome. It's an idea I've played about with for a while. These things are in my way. Well, it's supposed to look like an aeroplane. I'm not quite sure what that looks like, but it will actually look better when I start put some black on it. Essentially it's like a glass building, I think. That's what I envisage anyway. And I'm going to put sort of lines to indicate that, and then I'm going to do some more shading. I'll be using, in theory, what I'd be doing is using black and white, continuously switching between the two. And in fact, usually it helps a lot when you've got two airbrushes, especially if you've got two of the same. I don't have two of the same, so I can't do that. But I'm just kind of looking to see if I want to do any more block before I put the rest of this paint into the paint pot and try see what the black's going to do. Yeah, let's see what the black's going to do. So at this point in time I just waste the rest of this paint, which is unfortunate because it's starting to flow, but and then what I'm going to do is put water in and clean the airbrush out. Yeah, that is water. Only at £28, that's not bad for this airbrush. So just basically just flushing it through, and I can tell already that because of the fact that this paint is thick, it's not cleaning as well. Now I do need to get most of this white paint out though, because if I don't and I put black in, I'm going to get grey. I'm actually wondering if I should run this a bit. I used to run this brush at about 15 psi. I turned it up because I thought the paint's going to be a bit thick, and indeed it was a bit thick. I can tell that when I finish this tonight, this is going to be quite a pain to clean out, but we shall see. That's an issue for after the stream, not before it. Now the cleaning pot like this is really good for this, because of course it means that I'm not having to spray a piece of paper or anything like this to get paint out of the airbrush. It just all goes into a pot and doesn't bounce back and go anywhere on me or anything else around. So if you are that leaking? Well, I've probably got enough of the white out of there. Let's see what the black is like. It sounds fair. Black does have a lot of pigment in it as well though, so well, that came out quite easily. No, it's not. Same issue with this. Just putting it onto the tissue that I got in front of me, it's blue. Now, black is blue, if that doesn't sound daft. Black is generally made up of a lot of blue pigment, but the way it's gone onto there, it's gone on like ink, and it shouldn't. It should go on like paint. So again, there's not enough pigment in the liquid. So what I'm going to do is persuade the pigment to go back into the solution. I'll try and do this a lot better for tomorrow night, and that's assuming that I can actually get the paint to work. And then we can have a sort of a proper go at doing airbrushing, as opposed to sort of making a complete mess of it. So the moral of this story is, if you get into airbrushing, don't stop. Don't let your paint stand idle. As I say, these have been stood for about 2 years, and they've all settled out. I wonder what some of the colours are going to be like. Although, as I say, white and black are the worst for this because of the amount of pigments in them, and the other colours are less. They're still an issue, but they're less of an issue because there's less pigment in them. I've got some transparent paints as well, and they're going to be a pain to get in, because they're even if they settle out, they're even harder to get the thing to go back into solution. I really ought to, I guess, see if I can find a screwdriver that I can use to stir this stuff with. Now then. That's a little bit better, but I've now got black paint everywhere. That might be a little bit usable. Let's have a go. I've made a mess, so it's not... Not like it's going to be an issue. Not like I'm ruining a painting. I've already done that, so that's not in question. It's still coming out blue, but it's a lot better than it was. Actually, that felt like it was spraying quite nicely just then. Not quite as black as I'd like it to be, but we can work with that a little bit. Let's see how we can, let's tidy this up a little bit. See if we can do anything to make this at least half presentable. Before I get black paint on myself, let's put that to one side. And I'm going to be doing this thermal building here is sharpening it up and then loosening it, making it fuzzy again, because I want it to sort of glow, or I will want it to sort of glow, but okay. Well, at least the black's actually not doing so bad. So I'm going to use the black, tighten up the edges, use it to knock the white back a bit because it's too bright, and then we'll put white back on to lighten up the bits I've just made dark. And it's kind of that sort of iteration where we keep make it lighter and then make it darker. Now black and white is about the only thing you can do this with. You can't actually use other colours, because if you put another colour, if we try it for example in blue and white or blue and black, you don't get the same effect. The colours mix and you don't get a pure monochrome colour like this. Now this black still isn't as black as it could be. It's not covering very well, but it is actually covering, which is a bonus this evening. I can start to rectify. You know what I might do is, I was sort of intending just to throw this in the bin tonight, but what I might do just to see what I can do, even though we've got really bad paint, is just see what I can do with it. Am I out of black? Yes, I am. Just see what I can do with it. Just see if I can make something out of a really bad situation, which was the paint pigment being not mixed. And just for the experience, because as I mentioned before, it's been 2 years since I last picked up an airbrush to paint with, and so you know, I'm contending with two things. One is the bad paint, and one is my lack of experience for 2 years. You know, using an airbrush, whilst you don't necessarily forget the skill of using an airbrush, you do obviously lose the practice of using it. And you know, your technique level goes down quite a bit, and things like, you know, me currently trying to draw a straight line and not really succeeding very well. But so if I mess about with this, even if I ultimately do just throw it in the bin, then at least you know, you know, I've learned something, if you like. That line is too high there. It will want to be lower, so let's erase it. Yeah, I'm not going to get rid of those white spots, but the splatters are too bright to get rid of. But And that white will want to go a bit further forward. That edge needs to be a bit further more than that, but we get there. Okay. So just generally tone things down a bit. I could of course just spray this whole thing black and start again, but I could of course just get a new piece of paper and start again. I'm out of ink again. I say ink, I mean paint. Do I want to? What are we quarter? I'm starting to get back to what I would have used as an outline to start with in doing this. You know, it's not faint enough as I would have done it, but it's starting to get back to a faint. Thin lines. Actually, just put some more black in. Thin lines, really sort of faint lines that just allow me to sort of see where I want to do things, where I want to put paint. Now, I have sort of, in doing this, I am sort of whilst it's kind of an awkward thing to do, is sort of the night scene like this in an airport, if you like. It's an easy one to do because I'm not doing lots and lots of shading at all in it, and I won't be doing lots of shading in it at all. It's largely just sort of white lines. I'm sort of, you know, a lot of the aircraft, for example, you won't see. You'll just see the edges of it, like a rim light. And I'm kind of you know, using that to cheat, if you like, by meaning that I don't actually have to. There we go. Don't actually sort of have to sort of do some of the really hard stuff to start with. Are you not going to come out? You're not, are you? Come on. You're getting. Oh, you're getting thick again. Now, you won't be able to hear this, but I can actually hear this spitting. Which means the paint isn't flowing properly. It's smoothing out a bit now, yeah. When you're using an airbrush, one of the things you have to learn really quickly is that it's what they call air on paint on up, and then paint off, air off. You don't push and pull back at the same time. You put the air on and then you pull back to get paint. And if you are wanting to draw a line rather than a pure dot, then you start moving the airbrush. You put the air on, move the airbrush, pull back to get paint whilst you're moving it, and then you push forward to stop the paint before you stop moving the airbrush. If you don't, you get dots on each end, which is usually not what you're after. That's kind of that's one of the main techniques you have to sort of learn. And quite often, you'll see, if you do watch videos of artists using airbrushes, a lot of them will just stand there with the air running all the time. You just kind of forget almost that you're doing that. Occasionally, you do actually use the air as well. Not use as much air. You sort of half hold it down, just to give you a slight variation in control. But generally speaking, the air's hard on. Now I'm using in this particular case, I'm using a big compressor with a 50 litre tank, It's a long way away, so you don't hear it. I also do have a proper airbrush compressor here with a tank as well. You can get airbrushes with little tiny compressors that are sort of, that sort of size, sort of 50 pound and things like that. Generally speaking, they're not great for, you can use them, but they're not great for airbrushing. They don't hold the pressure very well, and the way in which they turn on and off means that you get pressure variations. And the other thing about them is, while you're using the airbrush, they tend to pulse, so they sort of pulse the air as it's coming out the airbrush, which leads to sort of thick and thin areas of paint. If you're doing a line, it gets thicker and thinner as it pulses. So if you have the opportunity to use a bigger compressor, or a compressor with a storage tank for airbrushing, that's a lot, generally speaking, is a lot more preferable. It's a lot easier, not necessarily easier to use, shall I say, but there's you get less problems because of the air supply. And also the little ones tend to put quite a bit of water into the airline, so you'll tend to have a water trap. It's useful to have a water trap on the bottom of the airbrush. I haven't got one here, and the reason I haven't got one, because they actually work as quite nice handles as well. The reason I haven't got one is because the big compressor that I'm using out there condenses a lot of the water straight into the tank, which you then have to empty at the end of the, let the water out at the end of the night. But I've got a water separator at that end by the tank, which then feeds a line to another one that's over here. So I've got a water separator over here as well, before it goes into the pressure regulators. And I've got a couple of pressure regulators, just they're over there. I can't show you them at the moment, but they are over there to which I adjust the air pressure with. And one of those regulators is leaking slightly, because I can see the pressure going up. When I'm not, what should happen is this line should maintain a constant pressure. So when I'm not taking any air, the pressure in this line should not increase. I can see it on the gauge, it very slowly is. But again, that's because these gauges, these regulators, haven't been used for 2 years. Actually, the one on the left has, and I may have to, well, I was going to say the one on the left has, I've got two, I'm using the one on the right. The one on the left has, because I've been using that for engraving. I've got an air-powered engraver, and I've been using the left-hand one for that, and that's holding its pressure. The one on the right is probably needs a bit more working. Now, what I'd be doing with this here is I should be able to get really fine lines. I should be able to get really fine lines. I'm just going to do this as a demonstration. I'm getting blobs here, which is not ideal. So I'd kind of just be looking to sort of do that sort of thing here. Now this is much too bright for this, but darken down that side of the building there, and that as it goes sort of over into the distance a little bit. So you've got the brightest bit of the building just around here somewhere, and my aim is out as well. That's another. I can tell that I've lost a lot of the skills. At one time I could hit, I want to extend this line, I can hit that line and go straight up. I'm not doing it now. It's just not there. I'm way out, but we're going to have some fun just to see what happens. Once I've done some, done a few messing around images, if you like, with the airbrush, then what I may do is actually try something more serious, a portrait or something like that, because I actually like doing portraits in black and white. They are quite fun to do. So I'm just going to just basically play about with this as an image and see what we do. Get back into it. Get back into using the airbrush. Make all the paints work, and then we can have a look at doing something a little bit more serious afterwards, and just see where we go with it. At this point I should get the white out, but I'm not going to, because it's having spent well, normally when I start about 7 o'clock at night a stream, I'll finish at about 9, and I think I'm going to do the same thing tonight, even though unfortunately I haven't done a lot of actual work tonight. A lot of it's just been shaking bottles, but then I can, after the stream, I can actually see if I can get the paint mixed so that I don't have this problem tomorrow, and we can actually just get on and see what develops. Kind of funny saying "see what develops" because I nearly said "see what happens," but I don't know if it's still around these days. See what develops, because I used to develop black and white photographs, and so saying "see what develops" with a black and white picture is kind of amusing in a way. I'm out of black ink again, so definitely I think I'm gonna call the stream at this point, because I am really not. I'm not gonna. It's gonna take me ages to get the white flowing and things, so I'm just gonna play with it and play with the paint off stream, and then tomorrow night I may have got a new black piece of paper out. We may try the same thing again, or I may just see what I can do with this one. As I say, just to have a practice play about with the airbrushes. You know, I kind of, if I ruin it, it doesn't matter. You know, it's kind of like already messed up. I can't. Well, I was about to say I can't make it worse. I can make it worse, of course. I can cut the whole thing in white paint, but it's only a piece of paper, and it's only a bit of paint. It's only a bit of electricity for the compressor, so I'm not that bothered. So I am going to say to anybody who's watching, I wonder if there is. Oh, there is people watching. Why do you say a different number to what that says? Oh, I see why it says a different number. Okay. I'm going to say thank you for watching, and Zin18 if you are still around. Thank you very much for sticking by me for the stream. I am sorry it's been a little bit of a. You've had seen a little bit of airbrushing, but nothing really serious in there. My skills are really rusty. I can tell that by just in trying to do straight lines, for example. But you know, it takes practice, and I need some more practice. So we're going to see how it goes. As I say, after this stream, I'm going to try and make sure I mix these paints up somewhat better if I can. So for anybody that's watching, I'm going to just remind everybody at the bottom right hand corner of the screen is all the various URLs that relate to Zaragan Art, all the way from my own website in the big letters, just to make it obvious, down through the shop on Etsy, which is jewellery, mainly chainmail jewellery. But it is a general shop. It's not actually a jewellery shop as such. It's meant to be a general shop. I just haven't put anything else in it but the chainmail and the jewellery at the moment. But I have things like, he says, it's around here somewhere. Engraving, glass engraving. So it's quite useful having a black background behind this. It makes it easier to see. I mean, this was something that was done on stream. Maybe recognisable to those of you that happen to like science fiction. So there's stuff like that, and there's also things like pyrography. So, which I will at some. Well, this isn't going in the shop. This is for me. This is our kitten called Theo. But pyrographic images and stuff like that. So it will be a general purpose shop. The YouTube is there as well because there's gradually the whole of the Twitch archive for Zevik Art, of course, is being uploaded onto there. So if you wanted to see any of the really old broadcasts, then they are gradually all going up, and you can see things like the pyrography being made, some of the earlier images and things like that. And of course Twitter. It's great if you want to be notified, because I do almost always tweet when I go live. So if you don't happen to have Twitch loaded and you want to see, then hopefully that will let you know if you want to follow me on Twitter. And of course I'm going to point out the two buttons which I think are up there, that corner. There's the follow, of course, so you do get notification if you're on Twitch, and there is the subscription as well. It'd be fantastic if anybody that's watching would consider subscribing, because it looks like I'm going to need some more paints. That's what the subscriptions go towards, things like materials and paints and microphones and cameras and all these sorts of things that everybody needs when they're streaming. So I'm going to say thank you. Look out for me tomorrow about the same time with a bit of luck. That's 1900 hours, between 19 and 2000 hours UK time. That's 1800 to 1900 hours GMT, UTC, they're both the same. And it'll be whatever it is in your own time zone. So unfortunately I can't do the maths for you on that one. So hope I see you then. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.